Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. So, I just wanted to share on this lovely spring day in Boston. Spring is finally coming. You can see the bright sun in the clouds, and it's nice and warm out. And I wanted to share something that I've been thinking about recently and sort of living recently, which is this idea of training wheels. So, we all know that when we're riding to learn our bike, a lot of times we'll have training wheels on, and these are there in order to help us to grow, to learn how to do it safely, to not get injured, right? And these training wheels serve a very good purpose, right? They help us to learn how to gain our balance, how biking works, and all that stuff. But at some point in our development, we have to let go of those training wheels and take them off. And when you take them off, you're learning how to ride the bike as an adult, but you're also learning how to ride the bike without the protection and the safety and the guardianship. And the issue is that a lot of us, it's easier to just keep the training wheels on. Why do I ever have to take them off? But of course, you can't ride a real bike with training wheels on, and you can't go as fast as possible. And there's a lot of reasons to take off the training wheels. But these training wheels are a protection for us, right? They protect us. But if you stay with them for too long, then it ends up outgrowing or outdoing its purpose and its benefit. It ends up being more of a liability and a harm than a benefit. And so the idea is, when you are ready, you take off the training wheels and you are consciously, right? You're making a decision to take away some of your own protection, exposing yourself to the possibility of danger, exposing yourself to the possibility of falling off and scratching up your knees or your face or your nose or whatever. And you're exposing yourself to that risk. And then afterwards, you are going to be, hopefully, learning how to ride safely. And in doing so, you'll be able to, do all right, and you'll be fine. And so, in this way, one of the things that really happens is that although you're exposing yourself to a potential difficulty and problem, you're going to gain the strength to do it without relying upon that crutch, without relying upon that dependent habit. And then you're going to be strong enough to do it on your own. So the reason I bring this up is, a lot of us have defense mechanisms, things that we rely on, things that keep us safe, but that are stopping us from growing. These could be called training wheels. So it could be something like, for example, in some cases, an addiction, in some cases, having unhealthy habits of self-pity, or asking out for help and asking for people to do for us things that we can and should be doing for ourselves. There's a lot of times that we develop habits of what's basically dependence. And I know that in my life, I've struggled with dependence. And it's been hard for me at some point because, alhamdulillah, I've been successful in many areas, but sometimes I feel like I need other people's permission. Sometimes I feel like I need other people to say, oh yeah, that's okay, or oh yeah, that's a good idea, before going forward. Those are training wheels. Those are something that allows me to feel confident because somebody else approves of what I'm doing. It also has a lot to do with people pleasing. Sometimes we feel like, oh, well, I don't want to disturb somebody. I don't want to bother somebody. I want them to validate what I'm doing. I want them to tell me that I'm okay. And if they tell me that I'm okay, then I'll go forward. But the reality is, we don't need other people's approval for doing what we're doing and living in our life. Of course, we need Allah's approval, right? We need to make sure that we're following Allah and His commandments. But when it comes to the opinions of people, that's not necessary. And I think I shared the story once before, but there was a guy who was, I think he was an undergrad at MIT, not MIT, at UC Berkeley. He was at a very prestigious university. His father was an engineer. He ended up becoming, his father wanted him to become an engineer as well. And about in the middle of his first semester, he actually decided he didn't want to be an engineer. Instead, he wanted to run a business. And he actually stopped paying his tuition and didn't tell his father, didn't tell his parents, right? And he started running a business. He actually founded the business. And I think 2 years, 3 years after college, he founded such a successful business that he sold it for millions of dollars. I think it was bought out by Amazon or Google or whatever. And he did his own thing. But when he came to approach his parents and say, "Hey, I don't want to do this. This is not the way that I want to live my life," they were really upset. They were like, "Look, I've got a great job as an engineer. I can connect you with good resources. You'll have a stable life." But that's not the life that this particular brother wanted to live. He wanted to live his own way. But if he had felt dependent upon other people and their approval and wanting to make other people happy, how would he have lived his own life? At some point in our lives, we have to realize that we are responsible for our lives. We are the ones who deal with the consequences of our lives, and nobody else will deal with it. So something that I've often heard is, I like to ask other people for their advice. I like to ask other people for what their opinions are. But if they tell me, "Hey, Omar, you should really buy that car. That's a great car. That's a great bike, or that's a great computer," or whatever. And they say, "Omar, that's a really great computer. I think you should buy it." If I listen to them and I buy that computer and it turns out to be a flop and it breaks, they're going to walk away from it and clap their hands of any responsibility and say, "Oh, well, you made the decision, not me." Anybody on earth can give you advice, but they don't have to live with the consequences of that advice. They just pass it on and say, "Well, you made your own decision." So this idea of dependence can be very destructive if and when we're relying on other people to tell us what to do and what not to do, and we're not making those decisions for ourselves. Of course, it's beneficial to get good advice from people who have more knowledge than we do. But ultimately, the first step, and I shared this yesterday, the first step of freedom is accepting responsibility for our choices. And in order to do so, we have to take off the training wheels of life. We have to expose ourselves to some risk, to some possibility of making mistakes. But in the process of doing so, we develop the internal strength to make those decisions, to be independent, and to make things work, and to grow stronger in the process. So that's my short thought for today. Hope it's been of benefit to you. And if it has been, please comment below or share or, do whatever it is that you need to do. And I appreciate the support, and I look forward to hearing from you again soon. Wa alaikum assalam. Peace be upon you.